Welcome,
Hey
Amanda.
guys, I love being on your show. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
Our
you
pleasure.
taking the time. Listen, I mean, look, you're going back out there. I want to jump right into it with Jake Paul. This time, even though he's not technically a professional boxer, he's a
What?
very...
Wait, no,
Wait a minute.
Hold on,
you
hold on.
always fight for him.
Wait, no, you're not even let me finish. You didn't finish my statement. I said, Jake Paul, this time, even though this guy is not a professional boxer, Tyron Woodley is a very successful combat sports fighter. You know I'm a Jake Paul advocate, Barack.
No, you are.
So,
That's why I was surprised.
So I'm talking about his opponent, his next opponent, Tyron Woodley, because people keep asking for him to fight a boxer. Now, a lot of people feel like Woodley is going to be too much. He was successful, world champion in the UFC. He's good with his hands. He's biting off more than he can chew. You've been spending time with Jake. I disagree with that. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's a great step up for Jake. You know, people want to see him with a boxer, but then again, Woodley is a great striker in MMA, and you know, Jake is learning on the job. So I think this is a great step up for him. We'll probably see him go at least a couple of rounds, 3 rounds. But I'm excited to see this fight because Woodley, like you said, he has a fighter mindset and a champion mindset. He's been a champion and he's been in MMA, and MMA is definitely a different sport than boxing. Is more brutal, but I'm excited to see how this fight comes along.
So you picking Jake to win the fight, obviously.
That's what it sounds like.
You know what, Jake is he's young, he's hungry, and I saw that when I was training with him. Like he doesn't need to box, he wants to fight, and that's the good thing about any fighter like me. Like I love the sport of boxing. I want to fight. I really don't need to. So that's why I continue to fight. But you can just see it in him. He surrounded himself with positive people, with boxing people. He's flying great sparring partners in. So you can tell that he really wants it. And, you know, he hasn't lost. So, I mean, Woodley, I don't know his mindset for this fight in particular, but, you know, he is a fighter. So, but yeah.
Well, one thing I noticed is that all of the fighters that hang around Jake or come into the gym when he's training, whether they had a different outlook before, they always say something different. They always say something positive once they come in contact with him. So take me back to when you got this call to be on this card, because I'm sure you was one of the boxers who said, oh, these YouTubers, man, what are they doing in our sport?
Yes, no, I did. At first, I didn't really understand what was going on with it. Like if they were doing it for a joke or they're doing it just for views or content. But after he kept coming back and I see that he dedicated his whole life to the sport, and he actually moved to Puerto Rico with his brother, where, you know, some of the best fighters come out of it. But you know, you can see. And then when they gave me the call and said to be on the undercard, I said definitely. You know, this is a stage, a platform where I can go as a woman fighter and showcase that women can fight. So I'm gonna take full advantage of any opportunity I'm given, and this is a great one. You know, it's funny because I have 2 nephews, a 13-year-old and 11-year-old, and their friends are like, "Oh my God, your aunt is gonna fight with Jake Paul," so they're interested in seeing my fight because of the Jake Paul fight, and I'm hoping that that's what a lot of young people are doing too, and I'm the co-main event, so they want to see Jake Paul, they have to see me, and I gotta put on a great performance.
Right. Do you think that maybe this is bigger than if you were to fight somebody like Taylor?
I believe so, you know, because this is a breaking point, I think, for female boxing. It's Showtime pay-per-view, you know. It's just yesterday what Gervonta Davis just got put on Showtime pay-per-view. So this is a big step for female boxing, and I'm truly excited to go out and put a great performance in. And you know, I mean, every fight is a big fight, and especially that, you know, the fight with Katie Taylor is going to be a good fight. But I think this is a breaking point for females.
Right. You know, Amanda, we've constantly talked about on this show women, you know, not being paid what we feel like they should be getting paid. You guys are on a constant fight for your value. Now, this is a big show. This is transcending boxing because of Jake Paul and what he brings to the table. Yes. Are you getting paid handsomely enough for you to be happy for this fight?
Definitely am. this is my biggest payday.
Wow.
And it's funny because Steven Espinosa, I want to thank him and Showtime Boxing, and especially Jake for putting, because Steven Espinosa came up to me and he told me that Jake really wanted to put a female fight on his card. And I was like, that's awesome. Even if it wasn't me, that's awesome to put any female on the spotlight. So then Steven recommended me. He looked me up and he said, yes, we need her. So I was like, oh my God, now I have to go out there and perform like I always do to my best ability and show that, we deserve to be on these spotlights and to get paid. But definitely this is my biggest payday and I'm super excited to see where it goes from there.
Maybe Jake was cool with that because he spent some time in Puerto Rico and then he said, wait, this is a Puerto Rican legend. She likes to knock people out like I do.
Yeah.
So let's have her on the card. Now, speaking of knockouts, look, you're arguably considered the pound for pound the hardest punching female fighter ever. Is that Amanda's mindset to go on when you go? You're an excellent boxer, but do you think knockout first?
No, I think win first. Win definitely is first. Perform, but I have Jordan. He's a great trainer. And he tells me, he said, listen, this fight, he said, we're just gonna go out there and we're gonna showcase a great fighting. But definitely the knockout is definitely in my mind. My next goal, like I have little goals. So my next goal, I have 30 knockouts. So the next person has 32 knockouts. So the highest knockout is 32 in women's boxing. Wow. So I definitely want to beat that record. So this one is the next step. So it'll be 31 and then I'll have 32 and then 33.
Well, you got a lot of power, but you also got boxing skills. What would you say is your best attribute?
I guess a combination of both. Now as I'm 32 years old, I feel I'm at my prime, and now I'm able to put them both together. And that was something that Jordan really wanted me to learn and be able to do, and he saw it the last fight that I was able to put it together.
Let's talk a little bit about where this fight is being held. I mean, I know you probably never fought in Ohio. Have you ever been to Ohio?
No, but I mean, when I realized, I was like, at first when I heard Cleveland, I was like, why Cleveland? Like, that's so rare. And then when I found out it's Jake's hometown, I said, oh, that's awesome. That's and I even when I saw him, I said, congratulations, because there's nothing better than fighting in your hometown in front of your people. And I told him, I said, don't be surprised you get too overwhelmed, because when I fight in Puerto Rico, it's no better feeling than to go out there and put on a performance for your people. So I'm happy for him.
Wow, there's been a lot of crossover fights, and if any crossover fight makes sense, it's anything involving you, because you actually fight in the MMA world as well. So would you be willing to call out Amanda Nunes or somebody and fight her in both realms, in the boxing ring and in the cage?
Well, I still have my ways in the MMA world. I still gotta it's little by little. I want to concentrate right now on boxing, but she's a great MMA fighter, and she said herself, she said she's not, she's an MMA fighter, she's not a boxer, so she's not going to come to the boxing world and go in there with a boxer. So, but I got definitely a long way to go.
Now, what was your take on Clarissa Shields' debut in the MMA world? Like, were you proud of her? Did you think that, does she think she needs a lot of work? She has a lot of work to do? Give me your assessment of her performance.
Well, I mean, definitely we do. We always need a lot of work, because this is a total different sport. And but I'm super proud of her. She did an amazing job for her first fight out, for being on a big stage. She put on a great performance. She showed that she's an MMA fighter. She was on the floor most of the 2 rounds, but she showed that she was able to overcome that and get the TKO stoppage. So I'm proud of her. I can't wait to see what she has next and continue to see her success in the sport of MMA.
Now here's a fight that's a serious fight that we've been wanting to see for years. We're talking about you against Katie Taylor. Do you think the fight would actually ever happen?
I honestly think it will happen. My goal, like I said before, my goal is to become undisputed champion. I really wanted this fight to have been one of those champions, but they didn't want to fight. So my team is not going to sit back and just get any regular girl. So we decided, let's go for another champion, and so that's why we got Mercado. So I want to become undisputed champion. Hopefully by the end of this year, don't know, or maybe early next year. Hopefully these champions can step up to the plate and take the fight. And then when I become undisputed champion, I really would love to have that fight with Katie Taylor. You know, undisputed champion versus undisputed champion. I think it just brings a bigger storyline, and I think people want to see it already. So why not add something to it? And you know, I want to thank Lou DeBella for actually pushing that and believing in me. And Eddie Hearn, he's coming along. He's actually supporting that decision. So he knows that fight is going to be a big fight. And there's been talks maybe March of next year. So let's see. I just definitely want to become undisputed champion first.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, so this fight, you got to lose weight again. You know, stranger to losing weight. You know, you said 126 is your normal weight. But, you know, because women boxing is not really televised that much, how much do you get to learn about your opponent before you get in the ring? So how much do you know about Mercado?
Yeah, I really don't. I let Jordan watch her. Like I watch like maybe like 15 seconds, 20 seconds just to see, but I really don't. I know she's a fighter and she's a Mexican. That's the best thing. Puerto Rico versus Mexico. It's always a great showing for boxing, and I know she's a champion, so she has that mindset of being a champion, and she's gonna come to try to be a 2-division world champion and beat me. But I don't watch much. I mean, you know, fighters change. If they fighting Amanda Serrano, their whole training method is gonna be different. So.
You know, you mentioned the rival between Mexico and Puerto Rico. This has been going on for years. Who would you say has the upper hand in those battles? Even though Puerto Rico is such a small dot on the map, but when you talk about those big fights, who has the upper hand, Puerto Rico or Mexico?
I'm gonna say island Puerto Rico.
For sure.
All right, so
look,
in the past, present, I can't say future, but in the past or the present, name a Puerto Rican fighter that you think could have beaten or could beat Canelo.
Oh my God. I'm gonna have to say Tito Trinidad at his prime, maybe, or because you know he was just a great fighter and he had all the heart in the world. But yeah, I mean, I'll have to say, too bad Cotto couldn't do it, but that would have been my first choice. But we saw that. But yeah, but going back to the Mexico and Puerto Rico thing, my opponent now, I know she's Mexican and she's coming to fight. And one thing for sure, I know she's a lot tougher than the Mexican WBA champion who, you know, turned my fight down. So
you had to get that in there. Well, that's the worst thing you've ever. That's the meanest thing you've ever said.
I know.
You are so nice.
You know, it's upsetting, you know, because this girl, she got offered a really good payday, and I'm hoping and I'm praying to God that like she can get that offer again when the time comes to fight. I hope she can get the same offer, and then that's gonna be another story. But you know, we thought Mexicans were tough and they'll fight anybody, but this girl Mercado took it in 2.2 seconds. Like she was like, "Yep, I want it." So I was like, "Okay."
Right.
It's taking these girls forever just to step up.
Man, they don't want that smoke, man. You hit too hard. Well, listen, we can't wait to see you. You know, back in the ring. Looking forward to seeing this, and then I definitely want you to get that shot at the undisputed crown.
Oh my God, me too. It's gonna be awesome. That's one thing us Puerto Ricans we never had, undisputed champion, and I want to give that to the island. So
I think you're gonna do it. Thank you for taking the time. It's always a pleasure chopping it up with you, Amanda.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys. Love you guys always. Whenever you want me back on, I'm here.
Absolutely. We'll see you August 29th.